Well, you've often heard the saying, perception is reality. Well, we'll find out just how much of a reality is Nigeria's perception when we take a look at the first ever index 25 report about the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. And let's start right now. President, Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so indeed, this is what we're looking at now, this Reputation Perception Index. Very interesting concept.
Yeah,
what did you do? Did you take a look at how, did you do a, let's say, a vote of how foreigners, is it how foreigners see us, or is it how we see foreigners? How is this, who is rating, or whose perception are we looking at?
Well, thank you so much for agreeing that it's a very important thing we do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for long we've spoken about Nigeria emotionally and politically. Hardly has anybody ever taken time to do a scientific study of what we think of ourselves as Nigerians and what others outside who relate with us think about us. This is a major gap, because reputation is something you must measure. If you don't measure it, you cannot tell where you are, you cannot understand where you are well and what you need to do differently to get the result. So what we have done is to fill that gap. Of course, you know, the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations is a sole regulator in this area. And we realized long ago that there is nobody manning the reputation gate of this nation. And like the chairman of our body of advisors of the Nigerian Reputation Management Group rightly stated, Dr. Tony Momo, that reputation determines to a large extent the kind of investments you get in a country. And it's also very important to note that when it is down, it can also take away even your citizens from that environment. And so we have deliberately decided that we shouldn't wait for foreign organizations and NGOs, whether it's Transparency International and the rest, to tell us what we are doing and where we are. So we developed a homegrown framework that we call Reputation Perception Index. And essentially, that is to ensure that we take into consideration our cultural realities, we take into consideration our environmental factors, while being very competitive internationally. So we now have a framework that has been adjudged by our local and international professional colleagues and partners to be one of the first scientific way you can measure reputation and perception. Probably we should start by distinguishing the two. You know, reputation, you might call it a track record. Reputation is something you build. It's something that you establish over time. It is not something you can buy. Perception, on the other hand, is a passing impression of that entity. And that means that you can buy perception, but you cannot buy reputation. Reputation is a product of your behavior over time, of how you have handled different situations. But perception is interpretation of a third party about you, which may not be real.
So I find it very interesting that you have been able to develop this framework. It's one thing to develop the framework, it's another thing to actually apply it and be able to really measure it.
Exactly.
So I imagine that you'll have to do some sort of polling.
Yes.
Perhaps speaking with citizens, maybe within and outside the country, and also speaking with foreigners as well. How big was this research, how big was this polling to arrive at what it is you finally have as a report?
Yes, we had a wide range of respondents. Yes, we had domestic, which was a larger percentage of it. We also had international. And these respondents, particularly international, came from 36 countries, from 5 continents. And of course, we use both questionnaire. We also use qualitative techniques like focus group discussion and all that to have insights into what they think about us. We, of course, had a total sample of over 4,000. And 65% of that is largely from Nigeria, and 35% is from our partners across these 5 continents, including Nigerians in the diaspora. We also have techniques to equally ensure that even locally, the sampling was such that all the 36 states of the Federation, we do respondents from there. And it's a scientific process. It was not just the issue of determining this is the person you want to hear from. So we also looked at the fact that since we are talking reputation and perception, there are different stakeholders involved. You have students, you have NGOs, you have even public sector, you have private sector players, and of course our potential investors. So these were covered, and it's an aggregate of it that has given us a score.
I do not want to preempt this particular report, the release of this report, because I imagine it's happening today, right?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Tomorrow at the National Assembly Library Complex by 2 p.m.
By 2 p.m. So we'll be getting the details then. But can you speak to us about some of the indicators that were brought up as part of the framework? Yes.
We were looking at governance pillars. There are 7 pillars. The framework has 7 pillars. And the 7 actually has about 5 that are focused on leadership, focus on performance, focus on communication, focus on credibility. These are governance pillars. They're actually 4 for governance. And then you have others like social equity, you have culture, and you have innovation. Innovation is very strategic in terms of determining the quality of the rate at which we adapt what we want to do to get to where we are. Because there are changes happening every day. And so you must understand what is happening outside your environment. You must understand what is happening within your environment. So the framework lays a lot of emphasis, 80% of it on leadership, lays a lot of emphasis on credibility, on your performance, on innovation. Before you talk about social equity and culture.
At the risk of preempting what the report says, can you tell us where it is that we did really well and where it is that you want Nigerians to concentrate?
Today we are talking football. You started with football. So I'll give you an example of where Nigeria did well. When we were to play Algeria, I saw a video clip of saying Nigeria will send you to Sambisa Forest. Now that is talking about perception. You know, it's talking about what they hear about us in the news. So all they know about Nigeria is crisis, and all that. But the same situation, but with Moroccans. What did they say? They say we'll revenge what we did to our girls. They are talking about sports where they know we're doing well. That is reputation. Our girls have done very well. So you see the same situation but different approach. So that tells you that culture, which includes sports, is one of our strongest assets. It includes music, it includes Nollywood. This is our big reputational assets, as it were. And it came out in the report, of course, without going into details of the score, because the framework has a score. Just as a student will have a score in a subject. So at the end of the day, tomorrow we say, this is the score for Nigeria. And I must tell you, it has nothing to do with assessment of any specific government. Because like I said, reputation is about time. Talking about Nigeria. So the score we're going to have is to say, this is where we are at the moment. It's important, as we talk about this, to realize that an entity can have strong reputation and weak perception. Just as you have reputation and strong perception. What do I mean? Take, for instance, you know, even in our day-to-day life, you have professionals that are very good in their disciplines, but they are media shy. They are not interested in talking. They don't want to be in the forefront. So they might have strong reputation because of what they have been doing, but they are likely not to be understood. And so it depends on, somebody might just wish them away because they are not in the public domain. And so such individuals have strong reputation, but weak perception.
In other words, perception is not always reality.
No, perception is not reality. It's an individual's reality. It depends on who is reporting that perception.
Well, let me go to my colleague, Ayo. You still didn't tell me, where it is we're not doing so well. You spoke about culture as one of the areas where we're doing very strongly, but yes. You're yet to mention that. Maybe Ayo will be able to pry it out of you. Ayo.
Perhaps a good way to start that particular angle, Malkwe, is to ask how much of education or background or preparation did we give Nigerians before this report is ready? For instance, was there what was the benchmark, what was the baseline before this report, the process started?
Well, that's interesting. The Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, as you know, has been there since 1963 and were established by law. 4 years back, we deliberately went on what we call Citizen Summit for National Reconciliation, and we started from the grassroots level to the state capitals, to the zones, and ended up here in Abuja. So we were able to collate information from Nigerians, what they think is going on right with Nigeria, what they think is wrong, what they think each stakeholder needs to do. That report was presented to the nation, and it is indeed what has led to the establishment of the Nigerian Reputation Management Group, which of course is being championed by Dr. John Momoh as chairman of the advisory committee. And of course, it also has a board that is chaired by Yomi Badejo, a seasoned public relations professional in this country. So that was one of the initial processes. We had data that we needed to understand how Nigerians feel and what are the issues. If you go to the NIPR website, you get a report of that effort that we did, and it categorized our challenges, particularly as it affects reputation, into 8 different chapters. And so what this very leader, 8 different chapters. And so what this very leadership of NIPR led by Dr. Ike Nelaku did is simply to implement the template that we had already gotten from the field. Secondly, we have over the years been providing support in different areas. Our members are in different segments of this nation, whether it's public space or private spaces. And so we know the reality on ground. We have seen companies that have folded up because of the challenge of reputation. Companies ordinarily were doing very well and had to leave. We've seen public institutions doing very well, yet the impact is not being felt in terms of the benefit that were accrued to our reputation globally because of the reputation that had already been established. Yes, you talked about where are we not doing well. I think I suggested it because I told you that we have 80% of it in the component of governance. You know, we have very strong factor in the area of culture that is getting so much credit for us. But culture can open doors. It cannot really keep the doors open. And so we've done a lot of work over the years to have that. But in terms of baseline for Nigeria's reputation as a nation and perception, we really do not have a baseline ever established. And this is the first attempt that NIPR has done, which, of course, over the years, we rely on what other bodies outside Nigeria do. So this will be the baseline, and we hope that it will inform policy. We hope that the result will inform also planning and activities by different stakeholders so that we can continuously build towards a better reputation for Nigeria. And what, again, are we doing? I talked about the Nigeria Reputation Management Group. After releasing this report tomorrow, on Tuesday 20th, we are moving to Shehu Yaradua Center, where we're going to have our first reputation summit, which indeed, if you look at the title, it tells you that we are providing solutions to whatever result that we have seen and we're going to present tomorrow. The theme is Better Nigeria, Better Reputation. And so the former governor of Lagos,
Prof, just one quick issue, if you can hear me. My sincere apologies for butting in, because I know that you have quite a lot to say. The reason I'm asking is not because, I mean, you know, there hasn't, a lot of work hasn't gone into it. What informed it in the first place was the idea. What was the baseline? Where were we? And you've talked about the fact that governance was a major reason, the perception of people or perception of government. Now we know, everyone knows, that as far as the Nigerian is concerned, the government does not have reputation with them. Trust level is very, very low. And it's not just at the federal level, it's even a lot more at the state level. And people don't even reckon with the local government administrations at all. Is there anything that this report can do to begin reversing those perceptions from the people towards the government?
It's an assumption. There is no scientific data provided by anyone that looks globally at the issue of Nigerian reputation. This is what we have done at the moment. And so at the end of our presentation tomorrow, you would have seen that we have not only given the score for Nigerian reputation, we have identified the gaps, we have also identified the strengths, and that will actually improve both local perception and reputation, as well as the one by external forces, because it's a scientific study that has looked critically at the different segments that will help us to have a good reputation or a better reputation, as it were. So there is no scientific data that predates this study that we will be unveiling tomorrow. And this is what makes it significant, because now you are relying on data that can drive policy, data that can drive our planning in a way that we are not grouping in the dark, or we're not punching or assuming that this is what we think. You'll be surprised to find some of the details in that report, that areas where we think we are not doing well, indeed, we might be doing better than that. And this is why it's a very objective scientific report. And I invite Nigerians to join us tomorrow at the National Assembly Library Complex, so you can engage with the research team. You can receive the report firsthand, and of course, we would make it public shortly after the presentation tomorrow afternoon. So Nigerians can go to NIPR website and download the report, which becomes now our first national benchmark for measuring Nigerian reputation and perception. National benchmark for measuring Nigerian reputation and perception.
Very interesting. I certainly will look forward to being able to download that particular report and see what it is that you say, what you have found. But in the meantime, also, we'll also be looking at cementing our reputation as a giant in the world of football this evening. I also imagine that you'll be very interested in that particular game. In the meantime, we have to thank you, Professor Daundara, Vice President in Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning.
You know, it would be very impolite of me not to thank our stakeholders. This is a report that virtually every serious segment in Nigeria has been waiting for. So we've had a lot of support.
Okay.
So tomorrow we would have the Deputy President of the Senate to chair. And we're also going to have Ambassador Jokeshi, who is the special guest of honor, who will be speaking to us, what does reputation mean to a nation? And so we want to thank all our stakeholders, from NUJ to ASU, to GOCOP, to Ratao. We've worked with all these stakeholders that have, over the years, been investing in seeing that Nigeria has the right reputation. We really want to appreciate their effort. We also, of course, must thank the support we've always enjoyed from the Governing Council of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, because this is purely a private sector-driven initiative. It takes a lot of money to conduct this research. We didn't take 10 kobo from any entity, and that tells you that the Governing Council has trusted the concept and the idea of this, and that tells you too that indeed the reputation of Nigeria this time around will get the required attention, especially when various stakeholders play their role. Thank you for indulging me.
Indeed, Professor Daundara, once more, the Vice President, Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, the NIPR.